What's up? How many of y'all? Well, I know you don't remember. So that's why I'm here to refresh people's memories and definitely educate those who don't know. It was very close. I mean, very close. Kobe Bryant was almost a Boston Celtic for real. I mean, this is real. This is no joke. Most people in Boston know, and a couple of people in the Lakers know. But if they would have known how serious the Lakers were about getting Kobe Bryant, they probably would have just pulled the trigger on the deal. But this is how the whole Kobe Bryant thing came to be with the Boston Celtics. See, it all started when ML Carr, who was, former Celtic legend, played with the Bird team and McHale and all those guys. And in 1997, 1996 rather, sorry about that, he was, they had promoted him at this time to, take over the operations. Red was like stepping down. He was mostly advising ML Carr. And him and the GM was Jan Volk. But the director of all basketball operations was handled by ML Carr. Now, ML Carr was the head coach and director of basketball operations at the time. Jan Volk was the lawyer. He handled mostly the paperwork and everything else. That was Jan Volk's job. And it was time for workouts, trying out the athletes and letting them all come into camp and seeing what they could do. And they work out. All the other athletes come in and do workouts. Some people refuse to do workouts because they didn't really need to. But Kobe coming from high school to the NBA, this is back at a time where, it was legal to do this. And Red Auerbach wanted to watch and see what Kobe Bryant could do. He wanted to see, this high school kid who had a lot of, people talking about him and people, writers and reporters that they trusted in Boston was like, you got to see this kid. You got to see this kid. This kid is, got a lot of talk about this kid. We don't know. So they brought him in, showed him the Boston Garden, let him take it all in. Kobe came in there like kind of brash, but anxious. He wanted to show and prove that he could play at this level because Kobe had did a couple of workouts for people. He worked out with the 76ers a lot. And they basically going over the history, telling him about this is what Boston is and this is what we want to do. And right away, they wanted to talk to Kobe, before they got him on the court. So when they had their pre-draft workout, they sat him down, had what they would call the sit-down interview. And what they saw from the sit-down interview and him going out actually playing was that he was above anybody that was 17 years of age as far as a maturity level, as far as being able to conduct himself. in an NBA environment. And on the court, there was nothing he couldn't do. And see, Rick, I think what's his name, Weissman, who was the scouting director at the time, he was blown away watching what he could do. And Dennis Scott, I mean, not Dennis Scott, but who was running it? Dennis Johnson, DJ. DJ was running the camps at the time. So it was his, tell him what plays to run, what sets he wanted him to do, and there was nothing he couldn't do. Kobe was doing everything, top of the key, catch and shoot. He was hitting almost every shot he put up that day. He couldn't miss. So Red Auerbach was lighting up his cigar. He goes over, he tells ML, I think this kid's going to be a hell of a player. But it can go either way. He seems to be solid, but he's a high school kid. You got to make a choice based on what you need today. But I think he's a hell of a player. And that was his input on watching Kobe Bryant. And he's like, now it's up to you to make the decision. What's best for the Boston Celtics? So Kobe, who was like remembering the time he was spending there, was like, wow. He was like, he hated the green. He was like, that Celtic green is like a different type of green. He's like, it's like no other green like it on the earth. He's like, I just felt weird. I'm like, can I just wear what I got on? Do I gotta put on this Boston stuff? He did not want like the Boston green or none of that stuff. He's like, that was like one of the freakiest things I've ever done was put on that Celtic green. He's like, but they bring you out in the practice gear and you open it up, it's the shorts and the green is glowing. He's like, but I moved past that really quick, man. And if they had drafted me, I would have definitely carried on the Celtic legacy and Larry Bird legacy, done it well, and played real hard for Boston. But like when the draft was coming, they were really still debating on which direction they wanted to go. And what he was saying, and ML made it like, man, this was my decision, basically solely my decision. He was like, he was the best interview that I've ever been a part of, like of anybody that he's done. Kobe knew the league as well as anybody in the game. He knew the Celtics from a historical standpoint. He knew the Celtics probably better than most Celtics did at 17 years of age. He knew a lot. And watching him on the court, a lot of people thought they were looking at the next Michael Jordan at 17 years of age. So ML was like, but this is a 17-year-old kid, and the Celtics, I don't know if we could put, all this pressure on a 17-year-old kid. He's like, Kobe didn't talk about rings. He talked about Michael. He talked about Larry. He talked about Magic Johnson. He talked about Isaiah Thomas. He talked about the great ones. You knew there was a hunger to be in that mix. He knew what those guys had done. He wanted to be one of those guys that would be talked about in that same breath. He's like, he had a hunger, no question about it. He was like, deep down, Kobe Bryant is a diehard Laker fan. But the Celtics say they weren't aware of that at the time. And that was true. They weren't. Because Kobe never gave that up in the interview. He never said, oh, I'm a diehard Laker and this and this. So they had no reason to believe he wouldn't play for the Celtics. So it was a 50-50 thing going into the draft. The Celtics was picking at the sixth pick in the draft. So Wiseman and a lot of those guys was like, anything you picked right now would work for us. We think this kid could definitely work for us. But there, you got to remember, this was a stacked draft. Now, Wiseman was the guy that in the Boston Celtics trusts completely. And Kobe came out and did exactly whatever he wanted to do. And Wiseman saw him one time in high school, and he said, that's all I needed to see. He's like, I told the higher up that this kid was a tremendous talent, tremendous potential, outstanding approach to the game, but he probably wouldn't be ready to contribute to an NBA team for a couple of years, which ultimately pretty much proved me accurate. And Boston just was not in a position where they could afford to wait 3 years before Kobe could mature and physically and be able to really be a force in the NBA. But what it would have done for Boston is gave them the star appeal that they've been looking for and gave them the excitement in the draft that they were looking for. Now, the 96 NBA draft is going to go down in history because that is like one of the last most ultimate complete drafts that we've had. They always talk about the 96 draft. They brought in Allen Iverson, Marcus Camby at the second pick. You had Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who had a great career, drafted by the Grizzlies at number 3. Stephen Marbury came in, got drafted by the Bucks, and went to the Wolves. And a trade for Ray Allen, who went from the Wolves to the Bucks at 4 and 5. They traded players. Then you had Antoine Walker, Boston Celtics. Took Antoine Walker. And they felt he had the talent to lead an NBA team right away. And Walker averaged, 20 points and about 9 rebounds and 4 assists. He became an all-star his second season and twice more during the Celtic tenure. But he helped the Celtics reach the playoffs, including the 2002 Eastern Conference Finals. And Kobe didn't go to the Clippers. They thought about, Kobe for a second, but went with Lorenzen Wright. Kerry Kittles went to the Knicks. Samaki Walker went to the Mavs. Eric Dampier went to the Pacers. The Warriors took Todd Fuller. Kobe went all the way down to the Hornets, who drafted him at the 13th pick. And then they traded him to the Lakers. Because the Lakers wanted Kobe Bryant. They wanted a star. They wanted somebody they could work with, that they could bring in, that was going to be excitement, because they already was set at guard. Guard was not what the Lakers even needed at the time. They had Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel. So people were like, what does the Lakers need with another guard? So when they drafted him, in a trade with Vlade Divac, people was like, this is not what we needed. But it became like the marketing that they put into Kobe Bryant, the next Michael Jordan, everything right away from his rookie year. It was the buzz the NBA needed. And Kobe didn't disappoint, even as a rookie. The young Kobe was putting on a show. He would come in for his little minutes, but he would bring excitement to the game. And they was grooming him to be a Laker for a long time. And watching the draft, Kobe was kind of, like the way they ranked him. He was so excited to go to the Lakers, but he was mad how he was ranked. And he was doing that all through his high school career. All the big guys was getting like, oh, this is the big, top player in the league, and this is, what it was. And it's that's just the gist of it. But Kobe Bryant definitely, his legacy is going down in history as one of the greatest finishers of the game, greatest player of all time. You knew that it, like Red said, it could go either way. So the Celtics, I thought, did a great job drafting Antoine Walker. I mean, that was the deal to make at the time. With the sixth pick in the draft, for what they needed, yes. But what Kobe Bryant had brought the excitement and all the marketing to Boston that they would have needed, absolutely. And the thing is, he would have probably played a lot more. I don't know how that would have worked out for him, playing as much as he did and being ready to take that call and provide right away on the spot. But who knows? We've seen better, we've seen worse. I just felt that would have been pretty much interesting, but they had a need for Kobe right away in Boston, so that would have been quite interesting to see him and Pierce play together. But I'm out. Don't forget to subscribe and all the good other good things.